I'm Becca and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to show you how to use your scrap papers to create all these lovely little flower embellishments for your cards, just using paper punches and dies and just some simple tools and with just a few gems or something just to decorate the centre. There's lots of fun to have and you can get lots out of just a small amount of paper. So let me show you how I did. Right, so the first way I'm going to show you to use your patterned and plain scrap papers is to use quilling dies. These are really easy to do. I think of it as cheating quilling because it's basically, it's got it already mapped out for you and all you've got to do is to wind them up. And what I've done is I've taken a piece of pattern paper that is double-sided. So it's got one pattern on there and one on the other one. So when you cut it, you've got two different ways where you can do it. But then when you separate it off, this is the waste. Now I thought, well, you could use that to make some sort of embellishment for your cards as well. So I did. And even the waste makes beautiful little scrunchy bun type things. Or you could say there's some type of flower. But even the waste you can use from using these. The one that I've used is the Crafts Companion Subscription Box 5 Quilling, and I use this one just for to show you today. As you can see, I've done different types of quilling flowers, and this was just a double-sided one that was pink and blue. But I'm going to show you it just done in a plain colour. So where's my quilling tool? Already. Right, so when you get in the quilling dies, this one's got like an embossed part to it, can you see? So you're wanting that's going to go on the outside, so when you're winding it up you need that to be facing upwards, and I'll show you in a second why. So just put it into your quilling tool, if you can get your fingers working like mine. There we go. And then just try to keep it as tight as you can around the end of your tool. Reason being is because the petals are going to come out wider than what the actual base of the flower is going to be. So you need to try and keep them as tight as you can. Obviously don't do it too tight that you tear the strip, because I've done that and then you just get mad with yourself. But they're easily stuck back together, it's just frustrating because you've got to rewind everything. So nearing the end now. I'm going to be doing a video that goes into more depth of doing the quilling flowers. Oh, this was just one idea that I thought fit with the scrap one. So you're just putting your glue on the end of the strip and you've just got to hold it in place until it sticks. If you've got some of that, not too sure what the name is, but the high-tack type glue, it's got near instant grab to it. I've not got none, but I've heard of it, but I'm using it what I've got before I don't buy any more. So, right, so as you can see, it's still sticking. As you can see here, that's the underside of the petal, so it's got the sort of debossed side of it. So all the embossed sides of it are all in the middle. So what we're doing is we're just basically pulling the petals out into the direction that they're meant to go. Now because this is not all glued on the inside, you can twiddle the middle to get the petals into a better position to where you want them to be. Now it's totally up to you whether if you want to leave your petals straight and sparkly, sort of straight up, or if you want to curl them. So if you want to leave them spiky, that's absolutely fine. Now these ones I've left spiky. These are the double-sided ones. I've done some, one with one pattern one way and one the other. This one I'm going to do some curling on it, I think. So what should I use? You can just use your nail for this, but if you've got something, you know, just needle tool or something like that, it just helps you go in there. If you just do it with your nails and it's sort of just bending it outwards, so you're pushing up with your nail, you can't see because my other nail, and just rubbing along the back, and then it will curl the edge of the petal. Try and do it this. Be careful when you're doing it this way, it's just that you don't go and pull the whole thing out and then again you're going to have to retwist it all. But you just make it to however you want the flower to be. And you can even use your scissors to do this. It's like the curling ribbon that you get for when you're wrapping presents. It's generally, it's like the same motion as that. You're putting pressure on the underneath and then pulling it outwards. Just make sure that you've got the petals, if they've got the embossed bit in the middle. You can see. So you need to make sure that it's going in that direction so you see that detail that's within the die. If you've not got a die that, if you've got a die that hasn't got it, should I say, you don't have to worry about it, just they'll go whichever way you want. But you can just sit and fiddle with them as much as you like and get them to exactly how you like. And then when you get to the middle, I can part it now, and you'll see that's where the middle of the coil is. Can't see it very well, but right in there, that's the middle of the coil. So what I like to do is just put a little bit of glue in there and a little glue on the underside, and then that will soak down into the paper excuse me, and it will dry and it will stop it from uncurling. Now with the scrap ones it's exactly the same thing, but just be careful when you're doing this. Just try and make it, if you're trying to do it so that it leaves you this wastage at the end, just make sure you leave enough for your quilling tool to be able to grab, because this was one from one of the first ones that I did, and I didn't realise that I was going to be able to do this technique, so I've saved it to show you, because I started doing this and because there wasn't much space here, it started ripping quite easily. So when I was cutting them out afterwards, I left more of a gap in between the strips when I was putting through my die machine, and it's just basically, so I'll just take that little bit off there. So it's not proper petal shapes, it just gives you that extra embellishment that you can put onto your projects. It's so it sort of looks a bit like a tassel but stood up, but us crafters don't like to waste anything, do we? So I just thought, give it a go, and it turned out alright, I think. And again, you can do this with plain papers or pattern papers, or I once said that you could do it with, like, we tied to cardstock, and I've managed to pull my quilling tool out there before I got to the end, but never mind. Just try and keep it glue on the end, just like before. And then just hold it in place, and then while you're doing it in place, you can again curl them out, leave them spiky, or even these ones you could take your scissors and cut down the middle of each of the I want to say petals, but it's not really a petal, but down the strips that are left, and then you can make it even more finer than what it is. I'll show you, I'll do it on this one. So you could do this before you start wrapping your strip up, but you know, just do a few cuts. Just gives you a bit more of a fuller looking tassel, I suppose. I think I'll have to call them my paper tassels, because I can't think of any other word to describe them really. They just look like the things that you get on ends of balloons. I weren't even trying to come across for this one, this was just a happy accident when I were getting ready to do the video. So I could actually use that one. So I'm going to go through my other quilling dies and see if any of them do the same thing, and just check that the wastage is usable, which is always good. and you can make your stash go further. There we go. Too much off there. And this one I'll just, because I can't get into the middle, just put some glue around on the bottom, and then when it dries it'll stick in place, so once it's done it'll look like these. And then you've got this short stumpy bit here that you can put into either silicone glue or Collal 3D glue gel, or just use your PVA. You just have to wait for it to take a little bit longer to dry, that's all. So yeah, it's just these, it's just a nice relaxing thing to do with these. I am going to do a video that's more in depth of this, but I thought it'd be a good thing to put it in with the scraps videos, because it's basically the same thing, but you're just using pieces that you've got. I mean, even if you've just got pieces like this sort of size which are cut off from another project, you can use those. Or like the pink one that I did was a strip like this, and that's why I ended up with the thinner base part, because I've managed to get the whole strip on for me to do the flower, but the wastage, there wasn't enough space here. So if you cut in bigger pieces into strips to do that, just make sure you leave a little bit wider space for your dye to stick onto. So, right, the second way of making flower with your scrap papers is just using paper punches. This is just a lovely little daisy punch. I've had it years. Can't actually. It's a woodware craft collection, and I think it's called Daisy or something like that. I don't know whether you can actually get hold of these, but I'm sure if you can't find a punch, there's dies and things that you can get that'll do the same thing. And basically, you just cut out, or punch out should I say, lots of your little daisies, and there's different ways of putting them together. So I've got some already punched out. Let's get these over here. So the first way is to just basically overlap two flat ones without doing anything else to them, and overlapping the two so it covers up the petals, the gap in between the petals should I say. So just do that one there for you now. Now I'm just showing you, this paper's just white on one side and then it's got the colour on the back, so again, class it as a double-sided thing, you can do them different ways. So I'll do another white one because I like the white ones for a project that I'm doing. And then just put your glue on. And just take your time and get it positioned in the spot where you want it to. And you can use double-sided tape runners or something to this. It just, with the liquid glue, it just gives you that wiggle time to make sure that it's in the right spot. So that's just your completely flat way of doing it, not doing anything else to it. And then you just stick on a gem, or you could use Nouveau drops. You could do a blob of glue and put some glitter on in the centre. Or you could use 3D pill paints for the centre. There's lots of different things you can do. There's like the stickles and things like that. But I'm just using these flat back gems. They are sticky on the underside already, so don't need to put any glue or anything. So that's the first one. So that's flat. So if you want to keep it completely flat, that's absolutely fine. But if you wanted to add some dimension to it, one way is to do it like this. So once it's fully dry, just use your nails, again, just to curl it. Or if you've not got nails, if you're just take a pencil or just some sort of round tool, or your scissors. Again, it's just curling them with your nail or your tool, whatever you're using. So that one's, push those up a little bit. Again, just fidget with it until you've got it exactly how you want it to go. and curl them round. So then you've got that added dimension. I'm trying to show you from the side. So it looks a little bit more realistic, because the flowers, you know, daisies in real world are, you know, the 3D, they're not completely, unless you're flower pressing of course, but with this one I'm just trying to make it look a little bit more lifelike. The other way of doing it, there's my sponge, you can take a sponge. If you've not got a crafting sponge, you can just use bath sponge, or this one, I've got it out of a kids painting set ages ago and I found it, I thought, well, that would be alright for using it as well. So I'm just taking another one that I've got there, and I'm going to take my ball tool. No, I'll go for a bit smaller. You can get different size ball tools, so they're just helpful for different size projects that you're doing. Zoom in a little bit more and then you can see this. There we go. And all I'm doing is just pushing from the centre outwards on each of the petals. So like I've shown you with your nails, that's curling them down. This is curling them up. As you can see, it's creating a more cup shape. Now to make it even more like a cup, just take your ball tool and then just press in the centre. And then you've got it like that, so you could leave them like that and just put a gem in the centre. But the other thing you can do is again layer them up. You can lay one completely flat, or you could do another one that's 3D, or the other one that I'd thought of doing is having one curling up and one curling down. So stick a bit of glue on here. See, I think the one where the top one's curled up and the bottom one's completely flat looks quite like a water lily, because they have all the leaves that just float on the top of the water. So there you can see it's a beautiful little flower. And then again, just stick something in the middle just to look like the stamens that are in the middle. So I'll leave that one to dry. And I did have one that I'd done the cupping thing with. Oh, there it is. There we go. So that one's where I've done the cupping upwards. I've not done it as defined on that one as the other, so I'll just curl them up a bit more. And then what I wanted to do was try and do the nail technique so it's bending it the opposite way. So they're going away from each other. So one punch can do you so many different ways of making a flower. Sorry, I've gone off camera there. Sorry, I forget that I've got to try and keep in a small space for you to see. There. All the way around. So there we go. So you've got it going in at two opposite directions, so it gives you another lovely looking flower. So back out now because you're rather closing with that one. So there you've got one that's going in two directions. And then you've got the other one which has got a flat one and then the cup. Then you've got the ones that are all curled downwards. And you've got your completely flat ones. And then there's the ones that have got the bottom that is completely flat, and then the top layer is the one that's where they've been curled outwards. So how many types is that? That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different types. Is that right? Oh, I got 2 of the same. Anyway, you've got lots of different types just from just using one punch. And out of one piece of paper, there was another bit of that, I think I might have used it with something else. I've managed to get 10 flowers out of that one piece of paper. So if you're laying them up, that's 5 flowers. If not, you could just use them on their own, so that's 10 little flowers for your cards. So just think of different ways that you can use the bits of paper that you've got. The ones that are left over you can use, if you've got any smaller punches, just punch out in the areas that are still left. Or you can make a border out of the strips that you've done if you make them all in graduating distance, you know, so that they're all the same, and then that just makes your border as well. So don't just think of this as waste. Once you've cut your flowers out, you can still use it for other things. Just try and think, could I use that for a border? Could I use that for some more flowers or some leaves? Just think a little bit about what you can actually do, and you'll surprise yourself what you can actually come up with. So that's the second idea. Right, the next type is using crafting dies. I should have got one out before I started, but they're just basically like this. You cut them out of your papers, and they're all in graduating sizes, so you can do different size flowers or really full flowers by using multiple layers, like we've done with the paper punch daisy. It's basically the same, it's just cutting them out in a different way. Now, the paper that I used for this one, I've actually got the scrap bit left over from it. I think I used it on something. It was just a piece of pattern paper that were left over, and it wasn't big enough for me to do any sort of card with or something like that. So I thought I'll cut some flowers out with it and see how they look. Now, as you can see, it's got lots of little flowers on the petals. So it's not classed as like what you would say a real flower looks like. I just call it like a fantasy flower or something. And but I've got a different type of flower in a plain colour, and then I've got the ones with the pattern paper on. Now I'll show you with the plain ones, because I've got the bigger ones stuck together. Where's my sponge gone? So when you cut them out, you can get all the different sizes. So depending on how full of flower you want it to be, is how many layers that you put on it. So the side that you want face up, you're turning it over, and that needs to be face down. So again, put it on your sponge and use your ball tool, so I'll go that way. And just gently press from the centre outwards again. And then once you've got it going, just go around the edge of each petal. As you can see, that starts giving it a curved shape. So again, up to you how much shape you want to give to it. So this is sort of doing like the cupping version, but you'll see how it's different in a second. Right, so then turn it the right way back up, and take your bowl tool and just press down in the centre. And then you've got a lovely 3D flower. So essentially that's the same sort of thing as doing it with your nail or something else. It's just using your bowl tool but on a bigger flower. So it's a little bit easier than using the bowl tool when you're doing larger flowers, because obviously you've got more space to go over it. But you just keep doing that as much as you want on the back of each of the petals, and then you lay them up exactly the same way as like what we were doing the paper punch one, the little punch ones. And let's get the next size down. So next size down one, it's exactly the same. And then turn it over, press in the middle, and then you're just going to overlap them like we did with the other ones. So just pop some glue in the middle. And then you've got your lovely flower, and then you've just got something to put into the centre of it. Where's my big one gone that I had? Oh, let's see. Like on this one, I've put a pearl in the centre, and then I've gone around it with sort of little diamante looking flat back gems. It just gives it a bit of added something to your flowers. So, because this is a fantasy flower anyway, you can make it exactly, you know, however you want. But you don't have to use the gems or the glitter gel or anything like that. You can actually use your normal flower forming stamens. These. If you've got any of them, you can still put those through. Just wait until your flower's completely dry, and then just get your pokey tool and stab it in the middle, and put some of these through, and you've got another added dimension to your flowers. So again, you can layer them up in the same as the paper punch ways. You can have top layer curled down, bottom layer turned up, or the opposite way around, completely flat. It's up to you. It's just putting different types together and seeing how big of a flower you want it to be. So depending on how much you've got of your paper that you're wanting to use, I had, I can find it here, I just had these 3 little bits. I've got a yellow strip, but it wouldn't fit any of the dies that I got, and this was the wastage from it, and I managed to get all of these just from that little bit of paper. But then I thought, there's still little bits of space there, so I thought, I'll see whether if I can fit my punch here. So if you turn it upside down, and you've got your scraps, and if you put your paper in the slot, and then you just try to get all of the shape coloured, so you know that you've got paper on all the way around it. Punch, and then you've got another little daisy. So like I said, just keep looking at the waste of what you've got left and see what else you can get out of it, and just move it around just your scraps. And I managed to get one there, and then ooh, another one. So out of very little amount of paper you can get quite a lot of different pieces for you to work with. So don't just chuck it in the bin, you can use it on something else. Right, the last type of flowers that I want to show you are just basically these fantasy sort of flowers. They're from Made to Surprise by Sam Calcott, and it was the Funky Flowers collection. It's a set of dies, and I've just cut them out on some double-sided paper like on the other ones that I've done, and I've just laid these flat, just again spacing them out in between the other petals, and this has got a large one with a smaller one on top, and then you can decide whether if you want to have it one way or the other, or if you want to have the bottom one way and then try and get the older one, have the centre one in the opposite colour, or you could have your centre one in a plain colour, or the other way around. It's totally up to you. Just think of the different ways of what you could do. And then this one out of the collection, I've done it so that they've just got like little points, and on here it's got a deboss line down the centre, and all I've done is just pinch it so the sides come up, and then you can either use them this way facing upwards or have them that way. So you've got like triangle pointed sort of petals, if that's, there we go, you can see a little bit better. So you can have them that way or the other way. Again, it's totally up to you. And then just put a simple flat back gem in the centre, or again, stickles, Nouveau drops, anything that you just want to put in the middle just to make it look like it's got the stamens that you see in nature. So that's the last flower. Right, so I thought I'd just show you all the different types of flower. So we've got the cheating quilling ones that you can just use on your die machine and cut them out, and then you just have to wind them up with your quilling tool. And then there's the wastage from those that makes these lovely little tassel things that you can stick onto your cards. Then you've got these ones that you've used your sponge and your ball tool to do the shaping. Again, the same with these ones, but this has got a more fantasy look to it because it's got the pattern on the petals, and then it's got the more sort of vibrant centre to it, so that is, like I said, more of a fantasy flower. Then you've got these flat ones that I've just laid up the different sizes of the dies, and then I can turn it over and have it whichever way that I want when I'm using it for a project. Then we've got the ones, the funky flower ones that's got the pointed petals on. This looks quite like a star. If you did it in some mirror paper or something like that, you could use it as a star on a Christmas card, something like that. And then there's just the little paper punch daisies. There's just them on their own, and then the different ways that I showed you. Some petals up, some petals down, completely flat, mixture of all of them. So there's lots of different ways that you can use these. So I hope you've enjoyed that and that it's inspired you to have a look at your scrap papers and, you know, find out different ways to use them to make flowers, and then look at the wastage as well that you can use so you get more from your stash, because that's what we always want. We want to get more from a stash and not waste anything, and we want to be frugal crafters. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!